Hi, I hope you are having an amazing day. So in this video, we're going to talk about the conditional statements in the JavaScript. So in this video, you will learn about the if else and else if statement, and as well as we were going to learn about the switch statement. And in last, we will actually build the two projects. The first one would be using the if else statement that would actually check whether a number entered by the user is positive or the negative, and displays a message accordingly. And in the second program, we will actually use the switch statement to check what fruit name was entered by the user, and then it would display the price of that particular fruit accordingly. Now we're going to learn about the syntax of the if statement. So the syntax is pretty simple. First of all, you have to write down the if keyword, then you have to write the small brackets or the parentheses, and inside that you will write down your condition, and after that we will have our code inside the curly braces. So for example, if the condition is true, then the code inside the curly braces would be executed. But if the condition is not true or the false, then the conditional code would do nothing. Then the if statement would do nothing. But if you also want to do something even when the condition is not true, then we have to use the else statement along with the if statement. Okay, so that's the syntax of the if and else statement altogether. And remember, you can't use the else statement without using the if statement first. All right, now if the condition is false, then the code of the else block will be executed. Whatever you will write down inside the curly braces of the else statement will be executed if the condition is false. All right, now we're going to learn about the syntax of the switch statement. So the syntax of the switch statement is also pretty simple. First of all, you have to write down the switch keyword. Then inside the small brackets or the parentheses, you will write down the variable, which we will be comparing with the case values that we have written down here. So for example, we have given a variable, and obviously the variable would have the value. So in the switch statement, the value of the variable will be compared with the values of the cases. So it would be compared with the value 1 and the value 2. All right, so for example, we put down the variable and we compare it with the value 1, and the value 1 is actually same as the value of the variable, so it means the condition is true. Then the statement after the first case will be executed, but if the first value is not equal to the value of the variable, then it would go on and compare the value of the variable with the second variable, and if it's true, if the value is equal to the value of the variable, then it would execute the statement after that particular case, and if not, then it would actually execute the default statement. Okay, whatever statements you have in the default. Alright, so if I summarize the switch statement, it will actually compare the value of the variable with all the case values. So if any of the case value is equal to the value of the variable, then the statement of that particular case will be executed. But if none of the value is equal to the value of the variable, then the default value or whatever we have in the default will be executed. Alright, so now you have an assignment to do. Don't worry, you don't have to write down the code here. You just have to read an article by Geeks and Geeks, which is really helpful if you want to get to know more about the switch statement and the if else statement. Now we will get into the code in the editor. Just like the last video, I would be using the replit here again. Okay, so I won't be explaining the configuration of the replit, as I have already done this in the last video of the introduction to the variables in the JavaScript. Okay, so now what we need to do, we have to create a REPL here. That would be the Node.js, and it would be private and conditional statements. That would be fine. So now let's just start with the if statement. All right, so I would create a variable first. All right, so now I would write down the if statement, and now in the parentheses I would put a condition here that if the value of today is equal to Monday, then console log today is Monday. Now you can see here that we have put a if statement here with the condition that if the value of today is Monday, then console log that today is Monday. Alright, so let's just run this code, and it won't execute nothing because as we know the value of today is Tuesday, so this condition is actually the false. So that is why this code was not executed, since as we know that this code will only be executed when the condition is true. Okay, so if I put the Monday here, then it would work fine. Okay, so as you can see here, today is Monday. Okay, so now let me just tell you that what is this double equal sign. This double equal sign is actually the comparison operator. It actually compares the values. Okay, so here we have the value of the today variable, and here we have the hard-coded value. Alright, so if I also want to execute something even the condition is false, I would have to use the else for that, else statement. Okay, so I would use else and console log today is not Monday. So let's just run this again, and today is Monday because we have the Monday value. But for suppose I change the value here to the Tuesday. So let's just run this. So now we have that today is not Monday, because as we can see here that the condition was not true. That is why the else statement was executed. Alright, so this is how the if and else statement work. But what if you want to use the multiple conditions? So for the multiple conditions we use the keyword else if. Okay, so I will write down else if here, then I would put the condition, then the curly braces, the else statement. So I want to put a condition here that console log today is Tuesday. So I will say today is equal to Tuesday here, and it would be the Monday here again. Alright, so now we have the two conditions. So the first condition is whether today is Monday, and the second condition is whether today is the Tuesday. So if I put the value here to the Tuesday and I just run the code, it would execute this line of code, this else if statement. Alright, why? Okay, so I have done a mistake here, I guess. Okay, so it's a Tuesday. Now it would console log today is a Tuesday. Alright, so now we can see here that the first condition was not true since the value of the today was not the Monday. But in the second condition, the value of the today was compared with the Tuesday. So it was actually the Tuesday. That is why the condition is true, and it would execute the code inside the curly braces of that particular else if statement. We can even add third condition in a similar way. So it would be today is equal to Wednesday, and we would have the curly braces here again, and it would be the similar like this, just the Wednesday. Alright, so let's just run this. Now we have the three different conditions, and the second condition is actually the two because it matches the value of Tuesday. So if we have the Wednesday, then the third condition would be true. Alright, so let's just run this. Now the third condition would be true. Okay, so this is how the else if statement work, and this is how we can put the multiple condition with the if else statement. So now we would try to do the same thing with the switch statement. Okay, so let's just remove this for now. I will write down the switch as we know the syntax of the switch statement. Now I would pass the variable whose value I want to compare with the case values. So the first case would be, I would put a value here. In the case you always put a value, so the first value would be the Monday. If the value of today is Monday, then it would execute the expression after the case Monday. Okay, so I will write down here console log today Monday, and now we can have our second case as well. So let me just write down Tuesday. So it would console log this but the Tuesday here. So let me just put down the other values as well. Alright, so now we are done with the case values here. So if none of the case value matches with the value of the variable, then we would execute the code we get in the default here. Okay, so it would be console log actually weekend. Alright, so now we have the code of the switch statement, and it has a variable today, and it has the three different case values: Monday, Tuesday, and the Wednesday. So if any of the case values match with the value of the today variable, then it would execute the expression of that particular case. So for example, if the value of the today is Wednesday, it would match with this case statement. All right, and it would actually console log this, the today is a Wednesday. So let's just run this again. So as you can see here that this console log of the case Wednesday is executed, but along with that the console log of the default is also executed. So now let me just tell you this. So if I put the value here Monday, so let's just run this, and it would execute all the values here. But why? Okay, so there is a keyword which we use in the switch statement, which is actually the break. Okay, so what it actually does, that whenever the condition is true, it would stop executing the code onward. All right, but if we don't use the break keyword along with the case statements, it would execute all the cases that would come after that particular case. So for example, if I write down Tuesday here, so it would execute this console log, and along with that it would also execute this console log and this console log as well. So I hope you got the idea here. So let's just run this. So now you can see here we have the Tuesday and the Wednesday and then the weekend. So how can we avoid this? So for that we will use the break statement after each case statement. It would be the break here again. So let's just run this now. It won't have the multiple values now. So now you can see here today is a Tuesday. So if I put the Monday now, it would only execute the first console log. So if we don't match any values with the case values, so it would be Sunday, so it would execute the console log in the default. So now you got the idea how does the switch statement works. Okay, so now it's the time for the two projects that we have discussed earlier. So let's just build those programs quickly. Okay, so the first one was to check positive or negative number. All right, so it is pretty simple. What you need to do, first of all, you create a variable number, and I would give it the value here 12, and now I will put a condition: if the num greater than 0, then console log value is positive. But now we will put a second condition here, else if the number is equal to 0, then console log value is 0. And in the else we will actually put that if none of the first two conditions are true, it simply means that the number is a negative value. Okay, so let's just console log value is negative. So let's just save this. Okay, so now let's just run this, and it would give us the console log that value is positive because the 12 number is positive. Okay, so if I give it a minus value here, alright, so it is a num, not a number, and here is console log e and e here. Alright, so now it will work fine. So if it's a negative value, it would console log this, the value is actually negative. And if we have the 0, it would console log this because the second condition is true, the num is actually equal to the 0. Okay, so this is actually the comparison operator, the greater than, and for the less than we can also use this. Okay, so there is also a concept of the nested if in the if else statement. So how can we do that? So if I just remove this from now, I will put a greater than or equal to comparison operator. So this would actually make the condition true if the value is greater than 0 or equal to 0. All right, so now inside here I will put another condition: if the num is equal to 0, it would console log value is 0. Else if the num greater than 0, then it would console log is positive. So let's just run this, and this is how. Okay, so I think we have the error here. All right, so now it will work fine. Okay, so now you can see here, this is how the nested if work. Nested if simply means if condition inside the if condition. Okay, so this is how it works. So now let's just move to our second project, which is to display the price of the fruits. Okay, fruit. All right, so I will write down a variable fruit here, and I would give it a value mango. Switch statement will pass the variable here, and here we will have the cases. If the value is mango, then price of mango is $2 per pound. Okay, give it a space here. Now we will use the break. Now we'll actually copy this code, and this would work fine. Okay, so it would be the orange, it would be the banana, $4. Alright, so now we will use the default statement here. So if we don't have any fruit, we will write down we are out of stock. So let's just run this, and it would execute the first console log as the value is equal to the mango. If we ask for the orange here, it would give us the price of the orange. If we ask for the apple here, it would actually say we are out of stock. Alright, so I have done a typo mistake here. The A would be here. Now it will work fine. Okay, so this is how it works, and this is all for the conditional statements in the JavaScript, and we will meet in the next video.